Hello, friends. We are going to continue on with our Read Aloud, The Year of Billy Miller by Kevin Hinkes. We just started our final section. We are doing part 4, Mother, and we are going to read chapters 2 and 3. Chapter 2. Because of the upcoming show, Miss Silver was spending a lot of time on poetry. She read several poems a day, all different kinds. No matter how hot it was, she turned off the big fan when she read so that everyone could hear her. Billy knew he liked funny poems about underwear or pranks or food fights. He discovered that he also liked poems about aliens and volcanoes. He liked some of the animal poems Miss Silver read, especially one that was about a bat. Billy thought that a funny bat poem that included a food fight and volcano would be the best poem ever. Miss Silver gave everyone in room 2 a new notebook. These are your poetry journals, she told them. We'll use them to write our poems for our show. Then you can keep them to use over the summer for writing or drawing or whatever you want. But I hope you'll continue to think about poetry even when the school year is done. Writing a poem about Mama would not be easy to do. Miss Silver said that poems could be funny, but that they had to be appropriate. She said to think of the poem as a nice way to honor a special person. Billy wanted to make sure that whatever he wrote pleased Mama, but he also wanted to make sure that whatever he wrote wouldn't embarrass him when he read it in front of a room full of people, including adults and his classmates. Billy liked the rhythm and rhyming of limericks, but he thought it would be easier to write a haiku about Mama, or an acoustic, or he could write that Miss Silver called free verse, which seemed to Billy to be an ordinary writing just broken up into lines that were shorter than normal. Billy didn't want to keep the poem short in case he tried to memorize it. Short was also good because that would mean fewer words he might not be able to spell. Miss Silver's plan was that the students would work on their poems for a little while each day during writing time. Miss Silver would walk around the room checking the poems and helping with spelling. If she thought a poem was ready for the show, she'd draw a smiley face on the top corner of the page. She hoped that by the middle of next week, everyone would have a poem all set to go. Remember that all good writers are rewriters, Ms. Silver said. Fine writing takes good, hard work. Billy had trouble getting started. He opened his poetry journal to the first page and wrote, My Mom. He couldn't think of anything else to write, so he drew a series of volcanoes in progressive stages of exploding. I'll show you that picture there. There was still enough space in the margin on the left-hand side of the paper to write the word mom vertically, so Billy decided that he would try an acrostic. In a burst of inspiration, he wrote, My only mother. Poetry is not too bad, he thought. He could definitely memorize this poem. He returned to drawing volcanoes. Suddenly, Billy felt a shadow fall upon him, as if a cloud had appeared out of nowhere blocking the sun. He looked up. It was Miss Silver. Today her chopsticks were yellow. I'm done, said Billy. All ready, said Miss Silver. You're a fast worker. Billy nodded. Who are you writing about? He moved his hand so she could read what he had written. Miss Silver smiled broadly. Good choice. Can I write about my dog? Ned interrupted. Remember, no pets, replied Miss Silver. Even if it has a human name? Asked Ned. His name is Bob. Miss Silver tightened her lips and shook her head at Ned. Then she crouched down beside Billy so that they were at the same level. Do I get a smiley face? Asked Billy. He could tell by her expression that he probably wouldn't. Maybe you could tell me more about your mom. What does she like? What makes her special? Well, said Billy, she is my only mom, so I thought that made her special. He fumbled with his pencil. Grace has 2 moms, and some mom somewhere must be dead, so that person wouldn't have any mom. That's true, said Miss Silver. She coiled a loose strand of her hair around one of her chopsticks. Would you try writing a haiku for me? See what you can come up with. She moved on to help Ned. Billy glanced at the posters on the bulletin board that showed the rules for writing, different kinds of poems. He remembered that a haiku had 3 lines. The first and third lines had 5 syllables, and the middle line had 7. He turned to a new page in his notebook. He was still thinking about volcanoes, so he wrote, Mom likes volcanoes. They are hot and they explode. Please do not fall in. He was counting on his fingers, making sure he'd used the correct number of syllables when Miss Silver came back. May I take a peek? She said. Billy chewed on his thumbnail while Miss Silver read the poem. Does your mom like volcanoes? Asked Miss Silver. I know you like volcanoes. Well, said Billy, she might. He blinked rapidly. I have an idea, said Miss Silver. I think you should take your journal home tonight. You should ask your mom what she likes. She could make a list of things. The list could be your poem. Or maybe there's something you and your mom do together. You could write about that. Okay, said Billy. His eyes shifted down to his volcano drawings. He wasn't fond of homework in general, but it seemed even worse now that it was so close to the end of the school year. His mind was already focused on summer vacation. You've done some fine writing today, said Miss Silver. We can work again tomorrow. It really is work, thought Billy sadly. When the dismissal bell rang, Billy noticed that most of his classmates, including Ned, were taking their journals home too. He was glad he wasn't the only one. Chapter 3. Billy was in bed when he realized that he'd forgotten to work on his poem. His brain had been so full of other things, there hadn't been room for poetry. When he came home from school, he and Ned had a water fight. Then they tried to build a volcano in the garden. That led to making mud balls the size of oranges to let dry and harden for future use. After that, Sal let them cover nearly every inch of her in mud. By that time, Mama had come home. She and Papa decided that it was too hot to cook, so once Ned and Sal and Billy were cleaned up, they went to Ruby's cupboard for dinner as a very special, almost end-of-the-year treat. Being at Ruby's cupboard reminded Billy of the time he tried to stay up all night, so for the rest of the evening he was preoccupied with the idea of attempting it again with Ned as soon as summer vacation started. Poetry had been far from his mind, as remote as some unknown distant planet. But now he couldn't force the thought of it away. He slipped out of bed, grabbed his poetry journal and a pencil, and went downstairs to look for Mama. Mama was in the living room lying on the couch with her eyes shut. A paperback book cracked open was resting on her stomach like a little tent. Billy didn't have to say a word as he approached Mama. Her eyelids fluttered up. She closed her book, sat tall, patted this space beside her, and said, "Sit by me." Billy did. "Where's Dad?" he asked. "He's in the garage. He wanted to work a little longer before bed." She tipped her head toward his. "What's up? Trouble sleeping?" Billy held up his poetry journal. "I was supposed to work on my poem about you." He paused. "I forgot." "Do you have anything to show me?" asked Mama. "I already wrote 2 poems, but Miss Silver said to write another one." "Let's see what you've got so far," said Mama. After she read Billy's acrostic and haiku, Mama laughed softly. "I like them. You've got a great sense of humor, Billy Miller." It was funny if a parent used a kid's full names in movies or on TV. The parent was usually angry at the kid, and the kid was in big trouble. But Mama and Papa also often used his full name if they were complimenting him or being all lovey-dovey. Billy turned to a clean page in his notebook. "Miss Silver said I could write a list of things you like, and that could be a poem. Poems don't have to rhyme, you know." He got his pencil. "Okay," he said. "What do you like?" "Besides volcanoes," Mama joked. Billy smiled self-consciously. "Okay," said Mama. "I like being with you. I love it, actually." "Mom, I know. You can write that down." "Well," she said, starting over, "I like coffee." She paused. "I like chocolate." She paused again. She was talking very slowly so that Billy could keep up with what she was saying. His pencil was moving fast. He could fix his spelling later. "I like rainy days." Pause. "I like..." All of a sudden there was a thud. Something hit the window. They both jumped at the unexpected sound. "What was that?" asked Billy. His heart was racing. "I don't know," Mama replied in an uncertain voice. Mama hurried to the window and Billy followed. It was difficult to see anything but their own reflections with the inside lights on, so Mama crossed the room to the front door. Billy was right behind her like her shadow. Mama held out her arm, making Billy wait as she turned on the porch light, opened the door, and looked around. Then she dropped her arm and walked slowly along the porch to the window. "It's a bird," said Mama. "It must have been drawn by the light." Billy joined her. There was a dark clump beneath the window on the porch floor. It was motionless. "It's a robin," said Mama. "Is it alive?" Billy whispered. He bit his lower lip and leaned closer. "I don't think so," said Mama, crouching. "No." Mama got her garden gloves and a shovel from the shed by the garage. She carried the dead bird, and Billy carried the shovel to the corner of the garden. "Should we get Papa?" asked Billy. No, said Mama. We're fine. It seemed to Billy that something big was happening. Mama put the bird down. She dug a hole under a bush. Before she placed the bird in the hole, she held it in a certain angle in the light from the street lamp so that Billy could see it clearly one last time. The orange feathers seemed unreal, too beautiful to be part of something no longer alive. The dead bird filled the hole as if it were filling a nest. Mama covered the bird with dirt and patted the dirt down. Billy found 3 stones and formed a triangle on top of the little mound. They stood together. Neither talked. Billy hadn't noticed until now how hot it still was. His pajamas were damp with sweat. Dirt was sticking to his bare feet. Mama broke the silence. I like quiet, she said. When it's quiet, you can hear so much. Billy looked up at her. But then it's not quiet. Listen, said Mama. She held her finger to her lips. Billy listened. He didn't hear anything at first, but then he did. He heard insects and the sound of a sprinkler. He heard the leaves rustling overhead. He heard a car driving several streets over and a dog barking somewhere in the darkness. It's quiet, but it's not, thought Billy. Then he thought of the dead bird and all of the noise mixed together, and it grew louder in his head. Mama squeezed his shoulders. Of all the things I like, quiet might be my favorite. A light moved slowly across the sky far, far away. A lot of what Mama had said sounded like a poem. Billy hoped he could remember enough of it to write something down. The world ticked and hummed and rushed around him. As they stood together a bit longer in the darkness, this is the poem that Billy wrote. Quiet Mom by Billy Miller. Mom likes a lot. She likes quiet best. Quiet can be loud if you listen. It sounds like this. Cars, sprinklers, bugs, wind, dogs. Quiet is a dead bird. The next day, Miss Silver gave Billy's poem a smiley face. And that's the end.